Hi everyone, I'm Belinda. Welcome to my studio. Today I want to show you a really cool experiment using drafting film or Mylar. This flexible material can be treated just like a printmaking plate, acrylic or metal. You can scribe in the surface of it, ink it, wipe it, and print from it to create Drypoint engravings. So this is my little edition of 5. One of the great things about making these is that once the ink is dry on this version, you can add watercolor to make this version. Let's have a look. This is matte finish drafting film. I've used this to make monotypes, but I heard that it can be engraved with an etching needle. Either a diamond point, a cork-handled needle, or a twisted scribe. These are the 3 that I use. I incised some line work on this piece of drafting film and then applied ink, wiped it off the drafting film, and put it through my press against a sheet of paper. And as you can see, it printed beautifully. I was able to get soft and hard lines. I recommend supporting the drafting film with a piece of Matboard while working on it. This sheet is stained from previous printmaking projects, but I've just used pencil to put a little sketch on it. The mark making with the scribe eventually moved all the graphite or pencil off of the plate here, so I could see where I was and where my marks left off. But I would recommend, even though I haven't done this yet, I'm going to try it, I'd recommend using a Sharpie or a magic marker, because I think that you would see your line work much clearer on the top of the drafting film. I'm experimenting with overlapping crosshatch marks in areas where I want lots of ink buildup. The more I abrade the surface of the drafting film, the more ink it will hold. Since this is an experiment, I tried to vary my mark making, everything from overlapping spirals in the hair to straight lines around the chin, throat, and cloth of the V-neck shirt. This could be a great project to do with kids since the Mylar is sheer, and if you wanted to, you could trace drawings they've already done or photographs. The brand of drafting film that I'm using is Dura-Lar. It's made by a company called Grafix, Grafix. I'll put links to all the resources in the Show More section that is underneath the video windows. I'd like to add some pattern to the fabric of her shirt, and instead of freehanding it, I'm going to use some hand-carved Mars Statler rubber stamps. Again, since the Mylar or drafting film is sheer, you could always put this over something that's patterned and just trace. You can also use store-bought rubber stamps if you've got a fun pattern in your collection. Drafting film comes in both a clear and a matte surface. In order to get this project to work, especially for the stamping, you'll need the matte surface. Now I'm just going to use the engraving needle to gouge inside the pattern, using it as a rough guide. You can see here that the point of the engraving needle is removing the rubber stamp ink, and this is why I think a Sharpie for your initial drawing would be a great idea. It would make your progress on the engraving portion of this visible as you scraped away the Sharpie. I'm using a dauber made from a piece of rolled felt with a piece of blue masking tape wrapped around it to apply the ink, and I've got a piece of non-skid underneath the plate because that's what I usually put underneath a printmaking plate, but you'll see in the video that I eventually remove it because it is unnecessary with the drafting film. The ink is some leftover from a previous project. It is Akua Intaglio ink that was blended with some transparent base and Magmix, which is a thickener. Now the plate is ready for wiping. I'm using tarlatan, which is starched cheesecloth, and again there are links for all of these products underneath the video window. And I've rolled it into a ball, and I'm gently wiping the surface of the plate, and as you can see, the abraded areas are holding plenty of ink. Now before I put this on the press, I'm going to slide a piece of Matboard underneath the drafting film This will give the drafting film a little bit of a lift, and it will leave a plate impression in the paper. I'm using soaked and blotted BFK Rives printmaking paper for this project. I'm going through the press nice and slow with just a couple layers of newsprint on top of my plate. I was unsure of how much ink would transfer from the drafting film to the paper, but I was pretty pleased with the results. The ink dried the next morning, and I added some watercolor washes to the Drypoint. The reference photo for the original sketch was a family member, a vintage photo from the 70s, so the title of this little Drypoint and watercolor is called Kinship. So with a Scribe, some Dura-Lar, and some ink and paper, you can make a Drypoint engraving. How fun is that? Thanks for stopping by and watching today. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below this video window. If you would, leave me a thumbs up so I have some feedback and I know that this was interesting. Share it with a friend who likes art, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.